I'm going to preview the Baylor versus Cincinnati women's soccer game, which will be played on October 12th at 7 p.m. Central Time on ESPN Plus, or there's live stats as well. This is a big game for both because they could potentially move up in the conference here. And Baylor has an RPI of number 68 in the country, and Cincinnati has number 96. RPI doesn't mean everything because teams with lower RPI actually lost last week. I'm just going to name a Big 12 example. UCF lost to Texas that had an RPI in the 70s, and they lost to Baylor too, and Baylor beat them. And Cincinnati overall is like 3-6-5, but 2-2-3 in the conference. 2-2-3. Yep. And their ties include Oklahoma, BYU, and Kansas State, but they did lose to TCU, Texas Tech, yet they won against Oklahoma State and Iowa State, of course. But that is not shocking given where Iowa State is right now. And I know both of these teams need this game to potentially move up in the standings and for sure get themselves in the Big 12 tournament potentially. But I want to go over Baylor's record first before going into the stats. Baylor is 8-5-2 on the year, 3-3-1 in conference. And yeah, with that last win against UCF on Sunday, they already surpassed the number of Big 12 wins compared to a year ago. And they're a better overall team than a year ago. Now, can they get to the Big 12 tournament, which is only for 10 out of 14 teams here? So I'm just going to point that out. And I know for the Baylor side of things, with after all the results on Thursday, that they could potentially move up to tied for 5th in the conference. Yeah, there is a path when you look at all the games and all that and everything. So yeah. Now, what are some players to keep an eye on for Cincinnati? Anna Rexford, number 33, 5'11" goalie. That's a senior. 16 goals allowed and 48 saves. Now, other players are Megan Smith, number 2, 5'4" midfielder / forward. That's a sophomore, 3 goals on 18 shots attempted and 1 assist. I'm going to go right ahead and say Fran Stables, even though 1 goal and 11 shots attempted and 1 assist. That's a number 18, 5'6" midfielder. That's a junior. Ellie Flower, number 24, 5'6" forward. That's / midfielder. That's a senior. 3 goals on 15 shots attempted. Of course, another players like Laura Zembor Zeberyova. I apologize if I butchered that name. Number 28, 5'7" forward. That's a junior. 2 goals on 14 shots attempted. And that's why I mentioned that. And then the last player to keep an eye on is like Emma Geoffrey. Gioffre, number 34, 5'5" forward. That's a freshman, 1 goal and 9 shots attempted. And they have used a bunch of formations this year, but the most common is like a 2 defenders, 2 midfielders, 6 forwards, 7 times out of 13 games this year. I'm just pointing that out, but they could go with anything once you go in the description below, which I'll put the stats in there and everything. And obviously, you got to start out fast. You can't let Cincinnati get in the groove and make them on the back foot and make them turn the ball over on their own infield instead of yours. Obviously, you want to have more shots attempted. And I don't know about the status of Tyler Isrig, who rolled her ankle last game. Hopefully, she's all right to play. And I know Jen Patterson's been out since after that injury in the BYU game. I don't know what her status is either. So either way, you gotta have players step up if they can't go or one of them can't go. Or if both could go, that would be huge. I mean, I'm just saying that. And obviously, you don't want to turn the ball over in your own end of the field and play more on defense. But this is a Cincinnati team that went on the road to BYU and tied with them, actually. So they're no slouch. Yes, I know the overall record says otherwise, but still, you get the point in all this. You got to come out hungry, come out focused. Of course, you have to make adjustments on the fly. Obviously, they have to, not just during each half, but even during a halftime, of course. And they're probably going to discuss what to do and take away their strengths, and play your game and exploit their weaknesses. And I would also say, don't allow any of the best players on the team to get going. Of course, you don't want to have a foul in the box or handball in the box, obviously, because on defense, because that means penalty kicks, and we know how hard that is. And of course, if it gets called on the other end, you got to take advantage. But I also say you can't count on refs on doing stuff. You got to leave no doubt in the game and make plays to win, okay? I'm just saying that, and I know they can be very inconsistent at times. And I don't know about the status on the yellow cards on Cincinnati either. In addition, I do not know about their injuries, if they have any whatsoever. I'm just saying that. Of course, you want to execute your set pieces like a free kick, corner kick. You got to execute those. I mean, you got to have good passing and good ball movement. Of course, on those like 50-50 balls in the air, try to win that first one. Only win the first one, but win the second one as well. Of course, you got to take some good shots. And just not just take shots to take shots either. I mean, I know it doesn't have to be pretty, but you get the point. Don't want to have a low percentage necessarily. And try to work the ball in. Of course, you got to have to see what they're going to have to do, how they're going to play, everything. And of course, you don't want to get out physical. Also, would say let's go out there and leave no doubt. If you can run up the score and you're up by if you're up 1-0, run it up. Leave no doubt. I'm telling the truth because, look, I really do think if Baylor wins this game, they're in the Big 12 tournament. And why not do it on Senior Day, where you're going to honor for sure 2 seniors? And I know you kind of honored Madison Martin last week, but that's 3 of your seniors right there. And in addition, I don't know about Ashley Merrill coming back or Blythe Obar, but I know from talking to Ashley Merrill's mom that the plan. I mean, she was actually interested in that minifan around my neck at one time, and I told her it was Amazon.com, and she's like, I might need to get that for next year. So it sounds like she could be back, but we'll have to wait and see when we get to the off season here. But you get the point. You got to play hard and don't let them dictate the game. You got to take it to them. Take it to them early and often. Leave no doubt. Because, look, I'm not going to put any pressure on the team to make the Big 12 tournament, NCAA tournament. But let's try to win this game just to for sure ourselves in the Big 12 tournament and get some positive, keep them positive momentum going. Because after that tie with Kansas, we have won 3 straight games. Let's make it 4 straight games if possible. I'm telling the truth. And expect Cincinnati to be fired up too. Because I know they want to for sure find themselves a way to make the Big 12 tournament too. I guarantee you that. But I will also say, if you want, I know the ultimate goal is to make the postseason and NCAA tournament, but let's try to get to the Big 12 tournament first. Let's go out and win this game and protect home field one last time. I'm just saying that just to say it. Of course, when you're on defense for those set pieces, you got to be solid defensively. You got to not get beat on 1v1 so much and don't allow as many counterattacks. In addition, let's try to clear the ball out immediately. Of course, you have your goalie step up as well. I mean, that's the truth. And obviously, you don't want to have like yellow cards because the yellow card number, certain number of yellow cards means you're going to be suspended. Like 5 of them, you're suspended, and of course, you don't want a red card or 2 yellow cards in the game, let alone a red card in the game, because then you're down that player for the rest of that game. Then the following game, in which will be against TCU on the road, and that's probably the hardest game left on the schedule. But I also say this is a more winnable game. Let's go out and win this game. It's at home. And I get the standings are where they are, but when you look at the overall record, Cincinnati is not as good as us. Go out and take care of business. Because if you want any shot to make the NCAA tournament, teams with higher RPI should not lose to teams with lower, like worse RPI. I'm just saying that as a point of reference. And this way we could get another win under our belt and for sure get ourselves a chance to potentially move up in the standings. Especially when you look at all those other games that are going to go on Thursday. I'm just going to say an example like UCF at Texas Tech at UCF. Yeah, I would think Texas Tech would win that game, but you never know. Let's try to win that game so we could, if Texas Tech could win and we win, we'll pass UCF for sure. And then, of course, Kansas at Iowa State doesn't really matter because those teams are below us. West Virginia at Kansas State, it does kind of matter a little bit because they're they're tied with us at the moment in the Big 12 standings. But either way, let's go out and take care of business so we don't have to worry about that game to potentially move up. And if they do end up with a tie and we win, or both of us tie, we're still going to be in the same spot. But honestly, we want to win because that's more ideal and help yourselves in the Big 12 tournament here. And the Texas at Oklahoma doesn't really affect us right away, but Houston at TCU doesn't really affect us in the standings so much. But Oklahoma State does in a way because they're kind of like that UCF game. They're both ahead of us in the standings at 4 and 3, but they had to play BYU, and BYU is not going to be an easy opponent. So potentially BYU could win that game too. So both Texas Tech and BYU could, which will help because then if those two teams win, let's just say per se, and we win, and Baylor wins over Cincinnati, you could actually go ahead of both of those teams and be like 5th place in the conference. Even if you're tied for 5th, it really helps yourself. And I know this is pre-recorded and everything. BYU is playing Kansas State tonight, and I hope BYU does win that game in order to give somebody else a chance. And then not only that, they'll knock Texas down on there and in the Big 12 standings or even another tie. Technically, they would own the edge because of the number of points in it. They had a head-to-head win against BYU over Texas, so that would really help. So I'm just want to go over this game, and this is going to be huge because not one, you could possibly lock up the Big 12 tournament now, potentially. But obviously you got to not overlook this team for TCU coming up. I'm just saying that because you got to focus one game at a time, and you got to come out focused and ready to go. I don't know what the weather's going to be like, but if there's a weather delay, just stay focused and stay loose and stay ready. And honestly, a win here would really propel this program and potentially getting back to the Big 12 tournament. Possibly. And not only that, let's continue this positive momentum, like I said, like 3 straight wins here. I mean, Kansas State, Iowa State, and UCF. And UCF is the best team out of the bunch of those 3. After that tie with Kansas. So if we could win that game against Cincinnati, then you'd go on the road to TCU. And I know that might not be an easy game. That might be a ranked team. by then they might still be ranked, but we'll have to worry about that when we get to that point. Then we got Houston on the road to finish out the regular season. But Houston's on the bottom, worst teams in the conference. So that's a very winnable game too. But I'm just going to say we can't overlook Cincinnati for anybody. And you got to stay focused, stay ready. And I'm sure the coaching staff is looking at the style and try to see what they're like and try to see their strengths and try to take those away as much as possible and exploit those weaknesses. And of course, you want to correct your mistakes from last game, and you got to possess the ball really good and don't allow them having as many shot attempts or in as many corner kicks. I'm telling the truth, because if you could get more corner kicks than the opponent, that would really help. And obviously, more shots would help too. I mean, obviously, you don't want to foul the other team in a bad spot defensively. So, anyways, if you like this content, hit like and subscribe, and see you guys later on the road to 600 subscribers. Of course, obviously, the future goal is like 1,000 or more. So you can make money off of this. And I would also say, liking the video, commenting on the video really helps the YouTube algorithm so more people could see it. And increases the number of views. And potentially subscribe as well. And hit the notification bell while you're at it, so you don't miss any of these videos here.